What's good, folks? Family, friends, loved ones, enemies, frenemies, wizards, witches, muggles, mudbloods, people of Middle Earth, to another episode of Disguise Coverage, the only podcast that gives you an equal amount of blueberries in each muffin, presented by the best pizza in Buffalo, New York, and that is One Pie Pizza. Find the online menu in the episode show notes, whether here on YouTube or whichever podcasting app or platform you are listening to this show on. I am your host, Anthony Prohaska. Find me on Twitter at pro__ant. That's pro two underscores ANT. Find me on Blue Sky at pro ant. No underscores there, just PROANT. In this edition of Disguise Coverage, I'm trying to run through the intro as fast as I can because I have a very special guest on today's episode. We're going to record offline and talk Bills offense, forecasting for 2026, the NFL meta for offenses as a whole, and what things will look like going forward. We're still going to do that, but because of the Bills news today, we pivoted a little bit. We're going live. We're going to lead off with the most recent news about DJ Moore and the Buffalo Bills. And I say we, and I mentioned my tremendous guest because I'm not alone. Coming back to the show for, I believe, his third time. It's been several years. Mr. Nate Tice, now of Football 301, one of the best when it comes to this terminology gets thrown around too much now, but the whole like ball knower type of deal. But you know football in and out. You're super kind. You love wrestling. You love board games. We geek out on a lot of stuff. I'm going to make sure we're not going to talk about wrestling today. We're not going to go down that path because I want to get you in and out on your time. But you're one of the best. Welcome back, and thank you for taking the time.
Thanks for having me. It was like the NFL universe knew that we were getting together today and decided to drop some relevant news, which was great. I was already excited to do this show, but it was even more relevant for and not just like even a minor move or a minor
Yeah,
trade. It's like, oh no, this is actually something.
yeah.
No, so happy to be here. Happy to see you. Always love your intro, even if you had to
Thank you.
fly through it today because I know the circumstances. But great to see you, dude.
Appreciate you. Yeah, it was nuts. We'll kind of lead off with that. I'll switch the banner at the bottom to reference the DJ Moore trade. Yeah, we're still going to get into what we're going to get into in this episode, but it was funny how it kind of unraveled. It was like, oh, the Bills trade for DJ Moore. And I was like, okay, that's notable in and of itself. And then it was like, they're also going to have to take on like all of his salary. And I was like, oh, that's also notable because it's pretty sizable. And then it was like, well, it's going to be a mid-round pick. And I was like, no, it's a second-round pick. And it all kept unraveling.
Yep.
I think the value aspect, right? Second round pick, the money, the contract, that obviously is tied into who he is as a player and the overall value in the package. Let's compartmentalize that for a minute. DJ Moore, the player, right? What he is as a wide receiver, what you think he brings to the Buffalo Bills offense that is wide receiver needy. Let's just kind of unpack who and what DJ Moore is as a player and what you think he'll mean to the Bills offense.
This seemed kind of like, I wouldn't say a long time coming, but maybe a medium time coming. With Moore ending up a Bill, I feel like the Bills were going to be active in the receiver market. What for better or for worse, Brandon Beane listens to the noise,
Yeah.
and I think that also just relevant of what you watch. When I think that was always the thing with how the discussion with Josh Allen after the Broncos game and all the good that he brought to that game and the turnovers as well was I kept kind of like my defense of him, as people always want to say, you quit defending him, but it's like, no, this is just a fact. He was throwing to Brandon Cooks in a conference championship game.
Yeah.
So it's just one of these things. As much as I appreciate and respect Brandon Cooks wasn't good enough for the Saints to trot him out last year.
Yeah.
And that the fact that he's throwing these key passes. So I think everybody in the world knew that receiver had to be addressed in some way, shape, or form. DJ Moore makes a lot of sense as far as Joe Brady background, as far as the Bears letting him go, and Bears having their own guys that they want to develop. So they had a little bit of a surplus there. I was curious about the price because of his age, his contract. And also I would say, before I get into the positives of DJ Moore, the negative side is that in 2024, he more or less quit on the Bears. As far as like his effort, as far as just a lot of things, like truly just giving up on plays. And this, I have nothing against Moore or anything. Like I was shocked by that because before that he seemed like a consummate professional. And then even this year, there's sometimes miscommunication stuff happened with seems like with him and Caleb. Just something seemed off there in Chicago. When he got traded there, it made a ton of sense because they needed a receiver so desperately as part of that Bryce Young, or the trade that turned into Bryce Young. And he had great chemistry with Fields. I think he's going to have great synergy with Josh Allen because, and what this offense I think is, because yes, they attack underneath a lot. We can make jokes about mesh.
I was just saying mesh.
But how many bubbles are thrown to Dalton Kincaid and Khalil Shakir, and those are good plays for the Bills. Like that's the thing. It's like it works for them. They can get away with it. It's not my favorite offense at times, but they can get away with that. DJ Moore is phenomenal on screens and underneath and yak stuff. So even right there, if we just stop there, okay, good fit. but he has more receiver to him. He can win on the ball. He doesn't need to be off the ball like Kincaid and Shakir have to be. He can win on the ball. He can be an X. He can win isolated. He can win vertically. I've always thought of him as like a, maybe not the best comparison for this, but maybe if I go like a cross sports thing, a guy that's really good of shooting at the rim and 3-pointers, but terrible in mid range. That's DJ
Okay.
Moore. Good downfield, good on that vertical stem. Kind of has some great ball skills. That's what in Carolina, what he was really good at, more than maybe in Chicago with Justin Fields. You got to see it a little bit. That's perfect for what Josh Allen needs. Just think of like some of those Stephon Diggs plays where it's just kind of like those back shoulders, those short back shoulders. Moore is good at those. He's got great ball skills overall as far as adjusting. So he is the type of flavor, like in a perfect world, they get some big behemoth X. Like I had Denzel Boston going to him in a few to the Bills in a few mocks. That was what I idealistically picture. DJ Moore is kind of an X in a different way, but they really needed this. Is he a true one? I consider him more of like a high end 2 in a perfect world, or needs other complementary parts. The Bills have a nice other pieces that this is going to be a good role for him. But yeah, we can get to the compensation. But I will say, as far as Moore with the Bills, they needed this. It makes sense stylistically with how Allen wants to play. Some of the other guys get to slot down a little bit in their roles. So I understand why this happened.
Yeah, I'm pretty much in lockstep with you on that. Like, I don't think, again, compartmentalizing the deal itself and what they gave up for him. I mean, he gives the Bills wide receiver room, I think, needed burst, explosion, athleticism, the juice. Like you mentioned, like you got the yak capabilities underneath, and they were already a tremendous yak team in and of themselves, granted, because a lot of the offense was like, hey, Khalil Shakir, you're going to catch the ball at the line of scrimmage and then just go make some guys miss and do some stuff. Now you add DJ Moore to that, who can do the yak stuff underneath, but he can also stretch the field vertically and horizontally. You can send him deep on like the clear out routes, or have him, my mind immediately went to the game winner against Green Bay in Chicago in like week 15 or whatever, where Keyshawn Nixon is all over him. But he's running that deep post, wins the game. Nixon gets there a little early, but he makes the catch through contact. Ironically, survives the ground on like maybe Brandon Cooks. Was it?
I know.
Was it a catch? Was it not? I don't know.
I think it's vibes. It's a vibes call. It had good vibes.
Exactly. Yeah, whatever you're feeling, go with it. Rock it. And I describe him as a guy who's going to win more with athleticism and speed than he will with precise like route running or technique or sharpness or suddenness to his game. Yeah, and I'm right there with you. I think he's better suited to be a wide receiver too, to be more of like a Robin that hopefully gets a Batman, or another Robin or a Nightwing or something like that to kind of round everything out a little bit. But for him, just as a player, he adds a needed skill set and pop to this Bills wide receiver room. And now you take that wide receiver room, and if we're looking at it right now, it's, so you got DJ Moore, you've got Josh Palmer, you've got Khalil Shakir, got Keon Coleman, don't really know what or who he is.
But now you don't need Keon Coleman. Like that's what this does. It's like whatever he turns into, okay, cool. If he ends up getting his head on straight and everything's good, it's a bonus. But now there's no absolute need that he has to be something. It's more like anything that happens with him that's positive, bonus.
Yeah. And that was my biggest thing, not to absolve Keon of all the off the field stuff that's kind of gotten in his way this past season. But my biggest issue when the Bills drafted him was he was a known project guy. Like I thought, like across the league, it was like, man, he's got this awesome frame and these traits, but he needs some time to develop. He needs some time to polish and all that. And instead, he goes to a win now team in a Super Bowl window that needed him to contribute at the top of the depth chart right away. And again, that does not absolve him of the off the field stuff, but he went to a situation that wasn't really ideal to set him up for success. He didn't go to a situation that was like, yep, you're going to be able to marinate for a couple years. You can develop. Let's learn this game. They were like, hey, no, we need you to go out and be Sean Kemp for wide receivers right now and be an effective player for us right out the gate. And he wasn't ready for that, which again is somewhat on him. But I just always thought it was questionable for the Bills taking that type of player, injecting him into the lineup. And now, you get to, in a good way, knock him down a peg a little bit. And then you still got Dalton Kincaid, who functions in as a primary pass catcher. Things start to round out a little bit for that pass catching group. Do you see now, you mentioned Denzel Boston. I think a lot of fans would, if they're looking at the Bills right now, still say like, hey, they still need another wide receiver. Do you think that is still on the menu for them? Do you think they should still target a wide receiver day one, day two, if the right guy falls on day one? How much of a priority do you think wide receiver is for this team now, given DJ Moore's addition and kind of what it means?
It's more of a middle round one. Like, yeah, I'd more address that with maybe their fourth rounder,
Fair.
as opposed to a day two or day one. I think day one, well, I want to see first off what happens with McGovern and Edwards. And then once those decisions are made, then I can really prioritize what the Bills want to, because right now, like if they sign one, they sign both, or they sign neither, because they're going to get a pretty penny, both of them.
Yep.
Like they're both good players, and I've been trying to tell people this for weeks now. And I get everyone kind of catches up with the offensive line. I get it, but it's like one of these things. I'm like, they're going to get 18, 20 million, and I'm trying to like kind of get that over to people. Like a solid starter that's the price for a solid starter right now in free agency, and I think they're even better than that. So depending on what happens with those guys, because if both are gone, interior line, like that is the number one priority. And if we want to juice up this offense, I will say. I like if you just look at the pass catcher room right now, you can be fine with this because you have enough pieces as far as just the totality of it all. Where now you have a guy that can actually be, like I said before, aligned on ball. Even a guy like Joshua Palmer, who I always think ideally is a power slot, like he can now be off ball and do things and be a Z as opposed to an X. So the fact that Moore is an X makes the other stuff. Now you don't need a burner because Moore is your burner. Like him having that skill set, which might not be perfect for everybody, is kind of perfect for the Bills because what everyone else brings to the table, who are more gritty players, or Shakir, who's kind of a do-it-all Swiss Army knife kind of guy. I love Shakir. I know you know this.
Yeah,
but,
yeah.
He's one of my favorite like hits I would say I've ever had. Like where I was like, it's like this is exactly what I was telling everybody when he was coming out. Like he just helps. He's a winning football player. That's Khalil Shakir. Yeah. But everybody else, I wish Shavers didn't get hurt.
I know.
He was coming on, man.
Yeah, it's like as an actual pass catcher, in addition to being like a fun like blocker on duo,
blocker, just some deep ball stuff. I know. I was
suck, man.
Like if he was healthy, I'd actually be like, he was kind of like one of these kind of dark horse guys. I'm like, man, just keep an eye on him because I think Allen likes him and he's doing some nice stuff. Him and who's the other kind of Ryan Flournoy for the Cowboys. Those are Shavers and Flournoy are two kind of like, I don't know, rotational receivers that really came on the second half of last year. I swooped them up in all my dynasty teams. And then, but I was like, that's a big thing I've learned. Don't praise a guy until I got him on my dynasty teams. And then I talk about him.
That's fair. That's fair.
Enough people in my leagues listen to my shows. They do need one more guy. Like I do say that, but now again, it's not the most desperate need that they have. I would say it's more of a day three. Throw another body type in there as opposed to like, okay, we got to keep addressing this double dip. They like Moore really does help, pun intended, slot everybody else into the right spot. And and I don't know. I just look at the defense too, and just, I'd rather they address the defensive front or offensive front early with that first round pick.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. My biggest thing for them at wide receiver this year was, I think they needed multiple additions and some combination of somebody who can get you a bucket or just moves the needle, and then some kind of speed element. It could be all that in one guy. It could be multiple of each. Like even, I know a lot of Bills fans like Romeo Doubs, and I was like, okay, cool. You could add Doubs, but then you still have to add like a field stretcher. You still need a speed guy to go with what Doubs is. Now it's kind of the inverse of that. You get DJ Moore, who is a wide receiver 240, but top of the depth chart guy. He's got the speed. He's got the athleticism. But now, I think it's fun because it opens up a little bit of with what he is. You could still go for another burner. You could go for a bigger body type. You can go for more of a Z or power slot. Like you can kind of add a little bit, however the board falls to you, given what DJ Moore is. And I think that's a really interesting part. I
think we always think BPA as just everybody, but sometimes there's BPA at a position. And there's so many flavors of receiver, and there's going to be in every single draft class till the end of time. Because receivers are very good now. There's a lot of them. I know Bills fans are like, what? And I'm like, no, seriously.
Right? Why don't we have any? Yeah.
I know, right?
Why are we trotting out Brandon Cooks as wide receiver one in the playoffs?
Everyone keeps conveniently forgetting about that. Like, it's not just Josh Allen, it's like CJ Stroud the week before. He's throwing to rookie tight end 3, 2 of his linemen are out. Everyone's like, well, CJ Stroud sucks now. It's like, do you guys realize who he's throwing to? He's throwing to Christian Kirk, who got traded for a 7th rounder and was hurt all year. And then a rookie day 2 guy. And everyone's going like, what happened to him? It's like, I could explain some things. I could
show
give
you
you
some
some
stuff.
context
Yeah.
of what's
Let me show you
going
some
on
things.
and who's throwing to. But yeah, so it's not just Bills fans. Like everyone's coming after my quarterback because I thought the backlash of all that stuff. I know no one wants to retread this, but I would say nationally, it's very funny for me where everyone's guarded about their quarterback, but everyone wants to yell at the other team's quarterback because they feel like that quarterback doesn't get criticized enough. So as a national guy that's neutral, kind of see it all from all angles. So I did notice who he was throwing to in a playoff game, but just talking about how everyone kind of fits into a role now. Moore can attack deep, can be underneath. Khalil Shakir is underneath intermediate. Dalton Kincaid's underneath intermediate. Now you got enough guys that can attack all areas.
Yes.
Again, you'd have one more guy that can maybe threaten deep, but now you have somebody as opposed to nobody. And everybody was like very samey in the areas of the field that they can attack. So now you have that valid threat to kind of create space for everybody.
Yeah, I think that's a really good way to put it. Like I know it's gotten some flack now, especially with the Bills, but I am a proponent of like build your wide receiver room like the basketball lineup.
Yeah,
I like that.
Same.
I like that versatility. But if you've got 5 guys and it's like 3 shooting guards and 2 power forwards, it's like, well, you didn't really build the basketball lineup. You just got like a bunch of the
no
same
one can
guys.
shoot a 3. And everybody is relying on getting to the rack and shooting 18-footers. Then like, you need someone to create space.
Yeah, kind of like what the Clippers have been recently. Like I'm a Clippers fan, but like nobody can shoot the 3, and you've got like some guys who can create their shot. And Kawhi's got a great mid-range game
from when they moved to. That is so that.
As a young kid,
you're a big Bob McAdoo fan, you know, like.
So, I was being in Buffalo, and I'm a North Carolina fan as a little kid. I was a Raptors guy because of Vince Carter. I was like, Vince Carter's sick, and the Raptors are right here. That's
closest
cool.
Team,
Yep. We grew up in the 90s. I had a sick Raptors 90s starter jacket. It was like so sick. And then he left.
Sonics one still, or my parents have it, I should say, and I want to give it to my son.
Yes,
once he turns like 6.
Yes. That's sick. That's awesome. And so I rooted for the Raptors a bit, and then that faded, and I didn't really have a team. And then I learned the Clippers used to be in Buffalo. And I was like, oh, sweet. Like, I'll root for the Clippers. And that was literally like a couple years. And then the Chris Paul trade happened. And I was like, oh, this is kind of fun.
Good timing.
Then, great timing for me. Or so I thought. And then Kawhi Leonard's been my favorite player since like his second year in the league. And he went to the Clippers. I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander might not turn into anything. This trade is fine for Paul George. Everything is going to be great. And then it wasn't. But yeah, the Clippers, like, athleticism now with all the trades, and they play good defense, and they can attack it. They can attack the rim. They can play in the paint. They can shoot the mid range. They can't shoot a 3 to save their life. Like Kawhi can get them there a little bit, and every once in a while Mathurin will hit shots. But yeah, it's nice to build that lineup. But if you commit to that, you have to commit to the basketball lineup. You have to get the rest of those pieces. And I felt like they went with too many shooting guards for the Bills and too many power forwards. And it was like, okay, you need a point. You need more of like a 3-and-D guy in the same like wheel well. Yeah, so
that's what Shaver should have been as the 3-and-D guy. Like, like Palmer is a undersized 4, you know, and Coleman's a 4.
Small,
I'm right there with you. Like, they had a lot of 2s and 4s, and not a lot of guys that can maybe create like a little bit more on their own.
Yes, and they should be the 2s and 4s in the lineup where like your center is Jokic and you've got like Steph Curry a point. So it's like, okay, that's like, it's a little bit of different because you got these superstars that kind of end cap it a little bit. But yeah, I'm interested to see the second round pick and eating all the money. There's multiple reports on how they're going to shift the money around. We'll see to that. I thought the second, just because of the contract, I thought it was a little high. I know you see that in a similar light. I thought it would be more of like a 3rd round pick, a 4th round pick. But again, if you want to play the game of like, okay, that 2nd round pick, is DJ Moore better than whatever receiver they were probably going to get in the 2nd round? Yeah, from an own quantity perspective, sure. So I can buy that. But yeah, I did think it was a little rich, and I know you're kind of in lockstep with that thought as well.
Yeah, like just a tad rich, not like an absolute fleece or anything like that. But I just thought because of age, because some of the stuff you have to remember, if you're paying a guy or at least bringing a guy in, effort stuff is going to get criticized, and so the fact that that's kind of hanging over his head, like that's not lost on me. So that's where I would be like, I felt like nationally or league wide, his stock was down because of that as well. Coaches talk and personnel guys talk.
Yeah.
But so I figured his range. I thought a 3rd would be the most he would get. 3rd or like a flop. Like a 3rd and exchanging this kind of thing. Like that's kind of what I envisioned in my head. Maybe a 4th because the contract stuff spooked people.
Yep.
So like this is yes, it's a late second. Yes, it's not a great draft. I'll be honest, but there is a lot of interesting day 2 guys. I would say the range in this draft, like 25 to 60, is more interesting to me than top 10 almost.
Yes. 1,000%. 1,000%.
Not to say, yeah, it's just there's a lot of what I call green chips in this draft,
Mm-hmm.
and some can turn into stars. Like that's what I think is interesting. It's gonna be a very interesting draft cycle because there's a lack of consensus, so it's gonna be very fun. So yeah, April's gonna get weird. But I think that was just a tad rich. And again, I'm not going to beat down, and paying the contract is a tad rich, but they are a desperate team in ways. So that's what desperate teams kind of do. They kind of have built their desperation, a little bit. So that's just how I looked at it. But I'm not going to go like, oh my God, this is the worst trade I've ever seen in my life. Oh my God. I just thought my initial review is like, oh, B-, kind of like as far as the compensation, it wasn't like, I think the Bears did the best they could, but I think the Bills maybe just overpaid a little. But again, everything we talked about, all those positives, if it works out and everyone slots in, who cares?
If you win, nobody cares.
For where this Bills team is at, like you're building to this window. So, like I know the AFC is wide open. And I just keep trying to bring that up to people. It's like the Chiefs are taking a step back. Yeah. The Bills are figuring out what they're doing. The Ravens I'm pretty optimistic about the Ravens, where they're going this offseason. Yeah. But like the Jags could go a couple ways. The Texans could go a couple ways. I'm optimistic, but also like they could F up this offseason and just take a step back. Like, so the AFC is just like whatever team kind of really hits this offseason, not just these big moves, but filling in the lines. Yeah. Like it's a very wide open conference. And so like, that's why I'm not like totally opposed to this. I know other national people are probably gonna just go like make memes about Bean, and I get that. It's easy. He's the punching bag right now. Yes, it was a little rich, but it wasn't the worst deal I've ever seen in my life because it makes sense as far as where these teams are at.
The only thing I'm waiting for is for Bills fans to want to burn everything to the ground. If Alec Pierce signs for a deal similar to what like DJ Moore's average annual value is,
that
it's going to be terrible because like everyone since
Pierce
October,
would be amazing for Allen. So he'd be so perfect for him,
dude. Yeah, like everybody, like even the most casual of fans, starting in like October, was like Alec Pierce. And then as the season went on, I was like, nah, he's going to get paid. Like it's not even worth discussing. But if he gets something close to what DJ Moore's annual average value is, the Bills Mafia is going to want to burn the world to the ground. That's going to be, that's going to be the first thing. We gave up a 2nd round pick to get DJ Moore when we could have kept that pick and just paid Alec Pierce. What's going on? Yeah, that's the one thing I'm like worried about, because I was like, I think Alec Pierce is going to get between like 20 to 24 mil a year. And that's right where DJ Moore is. So you could have had that for Alec Pierce. Oh.
I think last I saw was Pierce getting like 27.
Oh my God, it's climbed even high. Jeez. I mean, I get it. Athleticism and juice.
It's how it goes. Hey, Tutu Atwell got 11 mil, and he's barely even playable. But just that archetype is always going to get paid because the boot, like DJ Moore can do it a little bit, but that boost effect that it has on everybody else, that's worth so much money. And then Pierce actually, though, like connects.
Yes.
It's just he actually connects. Again, it's like doing the basketball analogy. It's like he can shoot threes, but he shoots at 46%.
Yeah.
And at a high volume, relatively.
And like plays defense and can drive the lane a little bit.
And he's like developing some handles a little bit right now. His route running's gotten better. I know it's funny. Everybody wants Alec Pierce, and it's like, guess what? Every team wants Alec Pierce. Yeah, but again, he's not a 1, he's a 2. But his skill set can really boost everybody else. Yeah,
and in this wide receiver market where things happen, like Josh Palmer got decently paid by the Bills. Tutu Atwell last year, those are the two.
Get 20-something million,
bro. That's what it is. And he's I like Dobbs a lot. He's a wide receiver too. I'm not paying him that much. But the market is what the market is, and
that's a market. I know. I always try to explain that to people. Like Dan Moore got paid last year, and it's like he's a starting left tackle.
Yep.
I know he's average at best.
Yeah.
It's a market. There's no fair value in a market. It's
whenever
supply, there's demand. And every year it's different. Everyone's got different resources every single year and different needs every single year, and there's different draft classes every single year. So it's like the markets are going to be so wildly different every single year. So I know I felt like the last month. That's why I keep saying to people, it's like $20 million. That's the price to get these guys. I know that's crazy, but look what Titus Howard just got paid.
I know.
Gets traded. He gets 21 mil a year. I think it was 21, 22.
Good chunk. And that's been my whole thing with wide receivers. Like a lot of people like, oh, what do you think of this guy? This guy. I was like, I'm not even you're going to pay 20 plus mil for Dobbs. Like you can, but then you're also kind of screwed. Or are you going to pay closer to 30
guy if you have Dobbs,
exactly.
like to your point. So, Yep.
What do you do? Like, how do you put the puzzle pieces together? Yeah, like I'm right there with you. But yeah, that's the one thing. I think Bills fans eventually will calm down and be like, okay, DJ Moore's cool. And right when they think that, it's going to be like, Alec Pierce signed for $23 million a year, and they're going to freak out. Rabble. Yeah, all of it. All right, let's pivot to Joe Brady. Sean McDermott gets fired on Monday the 19th.
Yes.
And you text me, man, what is going on? And I responded, I was like, yeah, McDermott fired and this and that. Bean gets promoted. And you responded back, Bean got promoted, ! That's insane to me. And we started talking a little bit. And then we were both like, gut feeling, I feel like Joe Brady's going to be the head coach. Lo and behold, he ends up becoming a head coach. Let's, again, compartmentalize that. Joe Brady's a head coach. Let's put that into a different bucket. Joe Brady purely as an offensive mind for you. Play caller, designer, his passing concepts. We know the whole like mesh meme jokes at this point and kind of how he spams the same play calls over and over again. The 5-man protection stuff and the lack of adjustment there and how that's reared its head. And then also kind of him as an offensive play caller within the backdrop of knowing how important the run game has been to the Bills the past 2 years. It's so funny to have you on now because, like, when I first had you on in like 2021, we were talking like, man, the Bills need a pivot. The Bills offense needs a pivot. They need a run game.
Bucks game. That 2021 Bucks game is burned into my brain.
All the pin and pull stuff and the Allen keepers and
and they were throwing it over and over and RPO over and over and over. And I'm like, this got to change. Like, you guys hit the max here, and this has got to. I feel like they've thought the same thing actually. But like,
and
that game is burned into my brain.
Yes, and they got the pivot, and their run game's been great.
Yep.
But then we find out that, essentially the run game was designed and called on game days by Aaron Kromer. So Aaron Kromer is essentially the run game designer and game day caller, which is cool. The collaboration between him and Brady and being able to make that work during a game, because that's a lot of moving pieces and that's hard. But also you can play devil's advocate from the negative side and say, arguably the best thing about the Bills offense, aside from Josh Allen, was the run game. And Joe Brady really wasn't in charge of that. So knowing that and then putting that together again with Joe Brady as a play caller, designer, his passing concepts, who and what he is, what are your thoughts on him kind of as an offensive mind? Again, even though he's the CEO head coach, which is really a lie because he's still running the offense and he can't be the CEO.
They got to stop saying that. They got to stop saying that term.
They got to stop. Yeah. Words have meaning. You can't just say things.
It's an oxymoron. Like saying CEO head coach means I'm not calling plays.
Correct.
That's why you use the term CEO head coach.
Correct. You can't run a side of the ball like that. Yeah.
You're not a CEO head coach. You can't be both.
That's exactly it.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts?
No, Joe Brady and Kellen Moore, I've kind of like always kind of grouped together, and good and bad. I think with Joe Brady, and I appreciate this, I'm glad you brought up the run game stuff because that would be his biggest quality. He's not a guy, one of these kind of, for a guy that has a receiver background, he's not one of these quarterback coaches, passing gurus that just goes, well, we're going to throw it 45 times. Like what Brian Dable ended up doing sometimes with all the RPO stuff. That he knows that the run game is important. So like that is one thing I really do appreciate with him. But like you said, devil's advocate, and that's actually what was going to be my point, was even his 2019 LSU year that got him into the forefront. He won the Burroughs Award. Same thing. He only called pass plays.
Yeah, I would say he was the passing game coordinator. After that,
Esbinger was actually the primary play caller. And then when it got to passing downs, Brady got it, which also I've always been like, feel like that's a weird award to just give the guy that's calling half the play. I don't know. That's all I've always like been. Yeah, I don't know. I was like, does that more of a common like knowledge? And we just kind of, I don't know. If I was Steve Esbinger, is a good team player. If I
that's fair.
He's a team player. I'll put it that way. So I think Brady's best attribute, like even when he was in Carolina, he's good at knowing what his quarterback is comfortable with and streamlining it. With Sam Darnold, they ran choice routes to CMC like every other play. And it was because, well, no one's stopping it, so let's run it again, which again is something I appreciate. Sometimes coaches get a little too cute and they're like, well, they'll be on to us. Not Joe Brady. He'll call the same run play or whoever was calling it. Look at the Steelers game. Like 7 times in a row.
Yeah, duo. And they're
my God,
they're just,
over.
And they're
same
running,
formation.
I would say they're running the same formation, and it's either duo or mid-zone weak, and that's literally all they're doing. From the same personnel, the same alignment, same formation, left. That's it. Yeah, and they were literally just like, well, and it goes back to when when they were calling all the tackle pull stuff against Dallas a couple of years ago.
Dart,
they were like, oh, you have a small linebacking core and you're only going to put 5 and 6 in the box. We're just going to run dart all day and tackle long trap all day. Good luck. And Dallas couldn't stop it, so they just kept running it.
That's it. It's like, if it's not, there's a lot of coaches that get spooked. They're like, well, they're going to adjust. It's like, well, until you see the adjustment, just keep calling it.
Keep running. Yeah, I get it.
So, but like, I will say, the mesh meme or whatever you want to call, and this is something I've been really kind of just marinating on, even just talking about all quarterbacks, is that, every quarterback is going to have their influence on the offense, especially established guys. Sometimes that's good. Sometimes that's not good. I say in Philly, you're seeing the bad sides of that. When Russell Wilson was in his prime, you saw some bad sides of that. I was around a guy, Derek Carr. We had some of that where I was like, oh, that play's not a good play, but he was comfortable with it, so we would run it.
Yeah.
You see that. So I've been kind of going with mesh or whatever. Is that just because Josh Allen loves it? And then, and Brady's just like, all right, well, this is his play.
Yeah.
So that's where I've taken a half step back of being like, oh, that's all him, all that stuff. But having said that, part of your job as a coach is to coax out or give your player a tool to then, or just build that trust to go like, hey, we've been doing this, but we got to try this now because I think this is why you got to do that. So to me, I'm not in the building or anything, but I just looking as an outside and looking at context, it's like a TBD grade for me. I want to see this year if like they learn from that, if they learn the memes, because always Brady in the first month of the season, first 6 weeks, there's some cool stuff with the motion stuff, the orbit stuff, split back stuff. But then they never evolve after the first 6 weeks. And that's just something I've noticed a couple times. He did in Carolina as well, where it was just like, okay, what's your next thing? Like, what's your next layer to that base play you have? How many times have you Bills fans seen either switch verts to a Dalton Kincaid or a leak to a running back as soon as you guys get past the 30-yard line? A leak right through the formation to the running back, and then the tight end runs a crossing route. Again, those are fine plays. They're good plays. I would just never ever see that next step from them. Like, okay, we showed that fastball a whole bunch of times. Well, here comes the changeup, and it like really throws off the defense. So that's my knock on Brady. But again, is that because he's like, that's what Allen wants, or is that what he wants, or is that some other influence? I don't know. But it just says, when I look at whatever context like that, it's like, well, the quarterback has to be comfortable with it. That's why they're leaning into it. So it's more like, I do think that Brady is a good play caller. Cause again, I think he has good bones to his play calling as far as what he knows is what his good stuff is. I think there's maybe what I want to see. And maybe if I'm assessing him this year as a play caller, which now I did like the hires that he had, like Pete Carmichael to help him out and stuff. I do like that. But I want to see like, okay, what's your next step that you're going to do? Cause you have no more excuses, I should say. You have no more shackles or hypothetical shackles that you might have had under McDermott because we don't know.
Yes, very true.
So we can try and guess, but like every offense is like it's like venom. Like it's like every offense takes that from their quarterback. Like it changes the symbiote.
I like it.
Like it based on what the quarterback is. And so like right now it's this for the Bills. I'm curious if it kind of molds into something different and kind of this new next step for the Bills franchise.
I like that. Yeah. And I'm hopeful. One of my biggest things for Brady when he came on and took over for Dorsey, I was like, oh, he kind of made Clyde Edwards-Helaire be a first round pick coming out of LSU. Like the way he weaponizes running backs in the past, I was like, okay, this could work. And then we started seeing like the running back mesh traffic stuff and all the rail stuff, and everything was working. And their running back target numbers last year last year is now 2025, 2024.
I do that. I've been doing this a bunch too. Like going like last year, meaning 24.
Yes. It's killing me in everything. I'm still in like this season of 2025.
I'm speaking your language.
Appreciate you. In 2024, they're like EPA per target numbers and EPA numbers and yards per reception for like running back stuff was astronomically high. Like they were first in everything. The Niners were second with CMC, but they were like light years behind the Bills. Like they blew the doors off everybody. And one of my biggest gripes this year coming in is that all kind of stayed the same. Like it was really just like, we're just going to run rail routes off a mesh. So it's either going to be mesh rail or we're going to run the rail route with, to the single receiver side and a 3-by-1. We'll have the single receiver run like a little snag to try and obstruct the linebacker. And everybody was just like, oh, we know what this is. We're just going to do the same thing and get over the top and take away the rail. And Allen wouldn't want to pull the trigger and they wouldn't do that. And I'm hoping you get Pete Carmichael in there. I'm like, hey, maybe let's get some New Orleans Saints, Alvin Kamara, Mark Ingram, Pierre Thomas type of stuff going on. Let's work the backs in a couple different ways. Yeah, just that next level layering. I thought we saw some glimpses of it in the playoffs, some cool stuff of how we built. But yeah, it was just a lot of too much same in both the good and bad ways. And
Yep.
even the mesh one, mesh gets talked about a bunch. The big one for me too was they would just run double China Y option a
Yeah.
ton. And it would
Yeah.
usually manifest with the 7 from Kincaid, but sometimes we would, bend it and turn it to the middle of the field. And that was such a big thing. Like I would look at a 3-by-1, and if Kincaid was the 3 to the 3 receiver side, and I saw Shakir outside and Samuel as the 2 or whoever, I was like, here comes the double China
Here
Y
comes.
option. And
Yep.
that's what it would be all the time. And it was either
Yes.
that or mesh or the package plays or the runs with the pass tag where Allen is kicking it out to the bubble. Sometimes it's an RPO,
Yeah, tons of
sometimes
bubbles.
it's the
Yep,
patch.
yep,
Yeah, and that
yep.
was the offense. And they built on that a little. You got the touchdown to Kincaid, I think against Jacksonville, where they fake the bubble and Kincaid goes up the sideline. You're like, okay,
Yep.
let's build a little. But I just kept waiting, and there was some, but not a ton. And yeah, I wasn't. I like the kind of bucketing him with Kellen Moore. Yeah, I don't think Brady's a bad offensive mind. I don't think he's great. I don't think I would look at him and what he did and be like, that's the guy I want as my head coach. But hey, to each their own, and kind of pick your poison.
Yes.
And if that's what
Yeah.
you like, yeah, that's what you like.
Yeah, I think on the bell curve that play call.
There you go, yeah.
They are like he is. If midpoint's right here, he's like at 2:00 in a good way.
Fair.
Like a B plus, a B.
Yeah.
I would say if C's in the
Which is
middle,
solid.
B minus, and yeah, that's like how I always assessed Kellen Moore. Kellen Moore's stuff was always sound. He always addressed the run game, but sometimes he would he would get a little too cute with formational stuff, and I actually think he got away from that in a good way when he got to Philly. But I do think that like at the times he could get a little frustrating where it was like, okay, what's your next step? What's your next layer?
Fair.
I've always kind of categorized those two as the same kind of similar tier.
I think that's fair. I want to move on to this next topic, kind of talking within who the Bills are, what the Bills are. We mentioned this player earlier, Dalton Kincaid. This is something I've talked about a bunch since really he was drafted. And I know you've talked about it sporadically through his career as well. I just want to talk about Dalton Kincaid and his usage and his role and what that means for an offense, but also for defenses. And it's, again, compartmentalizing again. This is the bingo word of the day here, I guess. He is injury prone, right? Like, so let's compartmentalize that. Like, forget about the availability thing, even though that's a significant thing with him. Like, he gets banged up to the point where he either misses games or he plays and he's on a snap count or a pitch count because he's unable to go full tilt. But I just want to focus on him, and I think he's a good player. Like, as the tip of the spear for this passing offense, he is a mismatch creator, and he's been good when he's been on the field. But I want to talk about kind of the negative side of it, of just the limitations of him as a tight end, even if he was completely healthy all the time, but just the limitations because you can't use him in line with any semblance of consistency and or like not having a tell to a defense. If he's attached to the line or hipped off, you're either running zone away from him, right? Or you're doing something else because you're not going to run duo to him. You're not going to have him be the point of attack type of player. And I just want to talk about what that means for an offense schematically and structurally, but also by extension, what it means for defenses when they're matching with personnel and or kind of playing off of tendencies, knowing like where he's going to be or where he's not going to be and how that factors into his overall value and his role within this offense.
Yeah, no, it's a great question because that's how I've kind of, Kincaid, Sam Laporta, other guys that are maybe receiver only, I would say receiving only kind of tight ends. And like Laporta would be willing to scrap, but he just gets destroyed anytime he has to go against any size. But like that, it's such a great point because the tendencies and defenses are just so smart now. Like NFL defenses are incredibly smart, and not just smart like the players, but just the coaching and the opponent scouting is so good now. Like you're just saying, hey, this tight end is there. Okay, I can narrow it down. And if you narrow it down, you want to try to make every formation and every look a rock, paper, scissors battle. We've talked about this. But if you take away rock, okay, now it's paper and scissors. And then if you're in this formation, it's just scissors every time. Maybe you get them once, but over time, that's going to get destroyed by good defenses and just smart defenses. So that's why when I even assess guys, and sometimes I can be a little different than the consensus when it comes around, is that I always look at snaps impacted. Are you able to play be on the field all the time? Or if you're a running back, are you able to pass, protect, and receive? Or do I have to take you off on third down? If you're a tight end, do I have to do anything scheme wise to hide one of your deficiencies? With Kincaid, you do.
Yeah.
And I also think that he is a receiving weapon, but he just has to be used in a particular way.
Yes.
He is a fragile player, not in the sense of injury wise, but more of a like all right, if he can't cover somebody else's injury. He has to be used how Dalton Kincaid gets used.
Yeah.
He's not like someone else gets hurt. It's like, okay, well, Kincaid can do that for a week or two,
Yep.
and then we can bring him. Nope, he gets used on these switch routes. He gets used on just certain ways. He is good at them. He's just a very specific player.
Yeah.
And that's why even the big talking point, Bills are a part of this. The Rams are, of course, the biggest part of this, but the 13 personnel stuff, the 3 tight end stuff. I've gotten asked a couple questions from people the last few months going like, okay, if people are going to more multi-tight end looks, how important is the receiving tight end? And actually, my counter has been, no, the blocking tight end is more important to unlock the receiving tight end.
Jackson Hawes, baby. There you go.
Jackson
Yeah.
Hawes. As much as if we want to rag on Bean, I think he nailed 2 picks last year, Deion Walker and Jackson Hawes. Like I think Deion Walker can be something.
Yeah.
He's not great. He's not a great stylistic fit with Ed Oliver. That's the only issue.
Correct. Yeah.
You'd want one of them, not both of them. But that's a problem for Jim Leonard to decide.
Yes, and now it's like, all right, is he going to moonlight as a nose and a 4-eye? Or are you going to like? I get how he fits.
Leonard's
in
a better
down
fit
sub.
for his skill set because Leonard's his nose is attack. Noses
Keanu
are
Benton.
moving and slanting, and as opposed to holding up.
Yeah,
By the way,
Keanu Benton at Wisconsin. Let's slant, let's penetrate, create movement, all that. Yeah.
That's exactly attacking nose. Anyone does know, that's one of my favorite hires this entire offseason is the Bills hiring Jim Leonard.
Yeah, I was pumped when we were texting about it. We were like, man, this would be really sweet. And then it happened and you matched my excitement. And I was like, oh, this is good.
Leonard's awesome, guys. Like there is stuff that people that get more credit, like I would say Kirby Smart, I would say Saban all the way, but Dave Aranda and what we see in the NFL a little bit right now, maybe from like the Minter and the McDonald's of the world, they were using Leonard's stuff. It's modernized Rex Ryan stuff.
Yes.
That's the way to look at it. It's not as psycho aggressive as Rex Ryan. And actually, Bills fans, you guys got Rex Ryan when he was kind of PG-13.
Yeah.
But like former R-rated Jets, Ravens Rex Ryan, that stuff was nuts.
Yes.
Leonard's got a little bit of that in him, but he's kind of like he's molded it to modern football. Those Wisconsin defenses were the best defenses in the country. They were cool awesome. To watch. And he got what he was doing with every play.
Yes, what he was doing with out of base with the linebackers and basing out of the odd front and that tight front structure, and then big going to nickel, and it was more of like a 2-4-5. But what he was doing with everybody like Sanborn and Chenal and Van Ginkel and Herbig and Benton, and it was just so cool. Granted, you have to have the body types, but to be in their sub and to be in like
but none of those guys were 5-star recruits.
No, that's it. Like he was, and he didn't have the dudes on the back end necessarily either, but he was playing match coverages and they were sound there. They were attacking up front.
I think the safeties are a better fit for Leonard than McDermott. That the Bills already have on the roster. Like Cole Bishop's so much a better fit for Leonard than McDermott.
Especially if they're going to play more single high like you anticipate, and let Cole Bishop be the down safety and go box to box. Exactly.
He's so much better. That's what he was at Utah.
Yes, him and Sione Vaki, 2 monster men at Utah, were just 2 like big nickel apex off ball safeties, man some tight ends and running back. Yes, blitz and shoot gaps, attack the B, all of it. Yeah,
it's like it's weird because like if you asked me a month or 2 ago, I've been like, man, that Bills defense needs this. Now I'm like, well, Jim Leonard's some great mouthwash.
That's exactly how I feel about so much of it.
Better.
Yeah. It's so much more
lot more exciting.
Yeah,
I know I'm on a Bill show, but seriously, if no one knows my stuff, I've just been talking about this a ton because I think he's great. And he's got just a great mind, like just for football, and just also a great personality, like very confident in himself, and but not in an obnoxious way, and just very like he knows what he's doing. So yeah, that gives me more optimism about anything that they do on that side. Like I'm like every move they make, I'm gonna be like, ooh, like like oh that's cool. Yeah, I know. But anyway, sorry, let me devolve to that. But,
no, you're good.
Yeah, back to tight ends.
I will never be upset about anyone who wants to talk more about Jim Leonard because I've got tweets of wanting him since like 2022 and 2023 for the Bills. I just loved what he did at Wisconsin so much.
It translates now. It's better now than it was even if he came 5 years ago.
He was at the forefront of it then, and it was like, look what he's doing. And now it's like, you need to play that way. Yeah, he's right there. Like he's at the pinnacle of it. He is the pinnacle of it.
When he was a player, I mean, I know he played for the Bills, but when he was a player, that's who Rex Ryan made sure he got was, I want to bring Jim Leonard in because he shored everything up as a player. And on top of it, just as a coach, it's just cool. It's like
that 2000
attacking.
Yes. And that 2008 Ravens with the safety combo is Ed Reed and Jim Leonard. Yeah. The smarts of Jim Leonard and then Ed Reed being Ed Reed,
Ed
and then
Reed,
obviously
yeah.
the front was, it was just
Also
such a
very smart
cool,
too. Yeah.
right?
It's like, I
Super
know.
smart and ball, like
Yeah.
what the
Ed
cerebral
Reed was
ability at
smart
that
and
spot.
wild, and then Leonard was smart and sound. Like Leonard
Yes.
shored up a lot for Ed
Yes.
Reed to do
Which was,
whatever the
and it
hell
was
he
so
wanted to do.
perfect. The pairing
It's
was
perfect.
perfect.
That's what you
It
need.
was great.
That's what you
Yeah.
need. I know. I'm very optimistic about all that. But yeah, and again, talking about he would tee off when he was at Wisconsin. Him and I talked one time, and how I think they were playing Notre Dame, and that was when Kyron Williams was at Notre Dame.
Okay.
And Kyron Williams was just a beast, awesome at protection, just the
Yeah.
best player on Notre Dame. And what they did, I want to say, I will almost say every single passing down was they ran, a creeper where everybody does it now, where they blitz the mic and then they drop the edges. So essentially you're only rushing 4.
Yeah.
But Notre Dame's passing game rules, protection rules, it occupied Kyron Williams every single time. So he just did it. He goes, I'm not trying to win the blitz. I just don't want Kyron Williams to get out and on routes.
Yes.
And it's like, I know that sounds simple, but not every coach does that.
No,
I know
no.
it sounds such like a simple
and that's part of what I love for him. Like
Yeah.
him, he's attacking formation, which is a Rex Ryan thing, the whole blitz the formation thing from back in the day. But he's attacking your alignments, where the tight end is, where the back is. If we're going away from the back too, like I love how matchup focused he is to be like, hey, we know you do this good thing. You're a good like right-handed haymaker. Cool. We're going to put that behind your back. We're going to attack this thing. And yeah, I just love, sorry, continue. I just get so, I love that aspect and how it ties into the Rex piece. Cause that's my treat. Like, that's what I love as a little kid. Like the Rex Ryan and Dick LeBeau attack minded defenses are what shaped me as a football fan. And then, so Leonard, like carrying some of it forward. Absolutely great.
Yeah, no, I'm pretty excited about that one.
Last thing, and then we'll go. I just wanted to get you to talk about the next frontier for you. You've talked about defenses kind of having the advantages in the kind of the swinging the pendulum back in their favor. And it's not from the whole too high structure thing. It's defenses have an advantage in the protection world, and protection rules for offenses are kind of busted, really exemplified in the Super Bowl between the Pats and the Seahawks. And defenses having that advantage on passing downs because they're breaking protection rules. Just talk about what current NFL offenses can do to combat that and kind of swing the pendulum back in their favor.
Yeah, I would say if you want a Bills example too of maybe the negative side of this was the Bills-Falcons game. I thought the Falcons abused the Bills protection rules. And I always think the Bills have, under Cromer, had pretty good stuff. They're very sound. It's very just kind of traditional NFL rules, and I always thought they were pretty good. But that Falcons game, they abused them because we talked about how much they like to get James Cook out in routes, and the Falcons are like, we know that, and we're gonna we know you're gonna be in 5-man protection, and we're gonna get a guy running free every single time. And again, talking about how intelligent everybody is, all these coaches. What Rex Ryan, God, bringing Rex Ryan again. What Rex Ryan used to do in 2009, in the late aughts, was like he was the only one doing it. It would be like, all right, Rex, Dick LeBeau doing his stuff, the Ravens doing their stuff, okay, and then a bunch of cover 2 teams. Now, all those, like, if it's good, it's going to spread. And so now every team's got funk on 3rd down, every funk on 4th down, every, like, creepers and simulateds and all this kind of stuff now. That, like, now we see is that protections, there's still good pass protection teams and there's stuff that's still sound, but defenses kind of just know, okay, this is the weakness of it. We're going to, like, do this right on this 3rd down. I think the Super Bowl was the best example of that was Doug Marrone, who I'm not very high on as a line coach. I think he's very average and very archaic. The Patriots offense is very archaic. It's sound, but archaic. It's like they need a little modernity, modern stuff in there. His stuff just kind of got broken every single time because Mike Macdonald is so astute of what to do. Well, I'll see teams like the Rams and the Bears. They're probably my 2 best examples for this. Jags maybe a little bit too, which is a Rams offshoot. Is that they know how to, like, vary up the protection. So they're not just doing a half slide every single time. They're doing every variation of play action that you can think of under the sun, because you're changing attack angles on the defense and you're changing where the protection's going and working. If you're just doing drop back half slide, right, so a traditional 6-man slide is one side of the offensive line slides to a point. The other 2 guys are man block and the running back works with that side. Then there's offshoots off of that. If you do that, everybody runs that. That is the most basic pass protection you can do. But if you can vary it up, we're going to full slide this time. We're going to do a flash fake. We're going to motion the tight end across to help out on a full slide. Motion to have him chip on the opposite side. And you just don't want the defenses tee off. If you just sit and get static, defenses are just going to go licking their chops. Because then, like, you might get them once, but they're going to just, like, those edges are going to just start getting, they're going to start cranking up.
Revving it up.
They know they don't have to worry about any action in front of them. Then you watch the Rams, And it's like, okay, here comes a tight end coming across. Here comes a running back coming across. Here comes a receiver coming across. Here comes a guy pulling on the protection. They just run everything, and that's good because it's like having a pitcher with a bunch of pitches.
Yeah.
Now I can't tee off on the one thing because, again, defenses are so good. So it's not so in the sense of like something new has to be invented. It's just that I think teams could really behoove themselves by studying and also
Yes.
just being more comfortable running some kind of offshoot kind of protections or more kind of the secondary protections. They usually only run maybe once every couple of weeks, running it more about 3-4 times a game to just help themselves out. So that's where I think the smart teams will be doing that stuff this offseason because I think everyone's realizing that right now.
Beautiful. Love that. I'm going to save my thoughts on that for once you leave, so I get you out on time. I've already kept you a couple minutes after. I'm sorry. Tell everybody, in case they don't know who you are, what you do, your platforms, the floor is yours, and then feel free to leave.
Yeah, check my stuff out at Yahoo. And also I got Football 301. That's the main squeeze. That's a podcast I do with Matt Harmon and Charles McDonald. Also got a big board coming out I think tomorrow it'll be posted.
Okay.
But yeah, check that out on Yahoo. We'll have a top 50 coming out. So yeah, that's all the good stuff. So this was a ton of fun though, dude.
Yeah, I appreciate the hell out of you. I'll text you after to sing your praises. But yeah, go do your thing. I've kept you too long. Thanks, Nate. I appreciate the hell out of you.
Awesome. Have a good one.
Later. Bye. Mr. Nate Tice, pumped to get him on the show. Pumped to have him. He was the reason why we pivoted this week, just with him being a West Coast guy and what his schedule was. So we weren't able to align on our normal slot for this week, Tuesday nights, 9 p.m. Eastern. So we pivoted a bit. We're going to record offline. And then with the DJ Moore news, I was like, hey, cool if we go live? And he was like, yeah, absolutely. And so we went there. I want to make my way back because I want to grab some super chats from everyone. I noticed 3 throughout the episode. I didn't want to take up too much of Nate's time, but I wanted to come back. Carl, thank you for being here. Thank you for the super chat. Carl says, the deal on the table at the deadline was Waddle for a first-round pick. We got more plus a fifth for a low second-round pick. A good, talented receiver for less. I think it's a fair way to look at it. And again, as Nate and I talked about, I like DJ Moore in a vacuum, right? I should say, I think he's fine in a vacuum, right? I think his skill set is a nice additive to this Bills wide receiver room. You get some stretch horizontally. You get some stretch vertically. You get some athleticism. Again, I talked about it. He's not going to win with precision and route running and route guys up and deception and, oh, man, look at his stem and look at his footwork. He's going to win with athleticism and speed. You know, he's more of a guy, hey, we're going to sit, again, stretch the field. Let's send him on a deep crosser, on a deep post. Those vertical stem routes, let's have you push vertical, put your foot in the ground, turn back around on a deep hook or a deep stop route type of deal. Or let's have you run on a drag. Let's run mesh. Let's put you in the backfield and have you run the rail route and go up the sideline. But he's got athleticism. He's got some juice to him. He's got some pop. I mean, if we're looking at Waddle versus Moore, again, even if it's that deal, I personally would rather have Waddle for a first than I would Moore and a fifth for a second. But I don't think that's in a vacuum. And then the contract situation factors and things as well. But I don't think Moore is a bad player. I think he's a fine player and a useful one for what the Bills need and where they are right now. Now, again, the cost from a contract standpoint or the second round pick, that can be debated in a lot of other forms and fashions. And I get that part. It's messy and it's muddy. I almost said muddy, which it kind of works. But yeah, I would have done Waddle for a first as opposed to this deal. But again, I don't think Moore is a bad player, and I do think he works. Jason, appreciate you being here, and thank you very much for the significant super chat. That's awesome. Jason says, I think people are more upset with the fact that it wasn't the wide receiver that everyone wanted. He does add value to the wide receiver room and a very solid skill set. A wide receiver via a trade or free agency there was going to be a considerable cost. Yeah, we'll kind of see what kicks around. What does A.J. Brown end up getting traded for if he does get traded? What does Alec Pierce end up signing for? I mentioned it with Nate during the episode. Like, I think a lot of people will come around to this deal and be like, hey, at the end of the day, DJ Moore is an upgrade in the wide receiver room and a useful player. But if Alec Pierce signs for essentially the contract that the Bills are paying DJ Moore for, I think that changes the literal and figurative math a little bit for how people see the deal. And I do agree like that. If any team makes a move and it's not for the exact guy everybody wanted, I think there's natural consternation and frustration for people. But yeah, I do agree with you, Jason. Like I said, he does add value to the wide receiver room, and he has a very solid skill set and a useful one for the Bills. And we'll see how Joe Brady employs him. He did have a good year with Brady when he was in Carolina, but then again, so did Curtis Samuel. Samuel had his best season ever with Brady in Carolina, and that didn't materialize as well. Jason, another super chat. Thank you for, again, being here for the super chat. Jason says Bean will do some of his restructuring magic that will reduce his cap hit in 2026 and potentially beyond. Yeah, I've already seen some like numbers and rumors of like what he's going to do to knock down the cap hit this year and potentially next year. So I do agree. I think that will happen. And then Jason says the Alec Pierce contract, buyer beware. Yeah, I know you put this out around when Nate and I were talking about the Alec Pierce piece. Nate likes Alec Pierce. I really like Alec Pierce. I think a lot of people like him. I liked him a lot coming out of Cincinnati a couple years ago. He is going to get paid significantly. And again, still a good player, right? You add him to your team, and it's still fun to have Alec Pierce. But do you want Alec Pierce? How comfortable are you with Alec Pierce at $25 million a year? As Nate said, he's seen maybe some projections of him getting like $27 million a year. That's a steep price. But I do think the closer the Pierce deal comes to the DJ Moore deal, the more frustration there will be for Bills fans kind of across the board in that regard. But we'll see what happens there. Want to grab some more comments here. Matt in the comments, I see this is a terrible effing trade. Yeah, I get the notion of the DJ Moore trade, and kind of, again, I think the cost is what makes it more frustrating than if it was just like, oh, the Bills got DJ Moore. If you're just looking at it from a player on the field standpoint, I do think he adds value to the wide receiver room. But again, if you're looking at the overall quote unquote value, knowing what his contract is, knowing what the cap hits look like, how much they have to pay him, and then a second round pick, I get where that's a bit steep. But again, you can play devil's advocate and say, who's going to be a better wide receiver this year for the Bills? DJ Moore or whatever wide receiver they would have gotten in year two. And I think that's a fair argument. Again, I think it's fair to look at it at either side. He, for me, wasn't a top trade target or anything for me. I would have rather committed this money in a second round pick to Jonathan Grenard from the Minnesota Vikings, not a receiver, but a really good edge player. I would have taken that. But not what the Bills did. And again, I still think he adds value and adds usefulness, but I do agree. The second round pick and the contract, and then we'll see what guys get on the open market, can make it a little less palatable or significantly less palatable, depending on how you're looking at it. Oh, Derek says, I know you're a defense guru. Appreciate that. Who's your guy now in the first round, since it probably won't be wide receiver? I'm making my way downtown. I'm making my way through safeties and wide receivers now as I've gone through. I don't really have a safety in round one. I'm not as high on Thieneman as a lot of other people are. I wouldn't hate him being the pick at 26, but I'm a little iffy on that. I'd rather hope that the free agent safeties market goes down because of all the depth at safety in this draft class. I'd rather spend money on Jalen Thompson or Kobe Bryant at safety. But for me, I'm probably thinking edge rusher. Or somebody on that defensive line, depending on what they add in free agency. I'm either thinking you're adding a nose or you're adding an edge rusher. I haven't fully scouted either of those positions, so I can't give you a full name right now. I've seen people float around like, maybe Lee Hunter at that spot, or Cassius Howell, the edge from Texas A&M. Again, I haven't fully evaluated these positions, but I would sit there and think, as of right now, just how it's looking and what the Bills are from a team perspective, I don't think there's going to be a safety worth taking at 26. And I think the pick will either be edge or defensive tackle. Outside chance at interior offensive line, depending on what the Bills do with McGovern and or Edwards. I also think what's an interesting option, maybe the Bills trade back. And I wouldn't mind that. Like Nate said, and something that I'm in full agreement with. I think the value in this draft is like picks 25 through 50. Or 30 through 60, 30 through 65, something like that. And now that the Bills don't have a second, maybe they trade first with somebody and try and get an extra third or a second somehow and move back. I wouldn't hate that either. But right now I put my money on something on the defensive line. Edge, interior defensive lineman, somebody who can play defensive tackle, stand-up edge, 4-eye, multiplicity on the interior, hybridization. I would kind of see it somewhere in that regard on the defensive line, and then outside chance of the offensive line. Claude says, DJ Moore, the talent is worth the second round pick. The Bills just weren't in a position to give it up. My only problem with DJ Moore is that he cuts some routes short or gives up on some routes. Yeah, and as Nate talked about, the 2024 season, he essentially kind of quit on the Bears, which is not great. Anytime you get that. And I do think there are times where, like, I'm watching DJ Moore and I'm thinking, is he tired or is he just not trying right now in his route And that kind of stuff always worries me to have to ask that question. Um, and I think that's a fair question to ask. And it's one that's probably going to resurface regularly, knowing what his 2024 season was and kind of maybe that rep that he's going to carry with him. But, we'll see. Jason says, Ant, I think we're still trying to make another wide receiver move. Trade or free agency, or will that move to the draft? I think it would end up being the draft. I think they'll take a wide receiver round 4 or round 3. I'm still putting my hopes on Brennan Thompson, the absolute flyer from Mississippi State. I would love to get him in the 4th round. I think there's a chance he climbs up into the 3rd because of this, that's the speed that he has. And he's a little more than just a pure speed guy. So I think he could creep up into round 3, but I'd love to get Brennan Thompson, wide receiver from Mississippi State, in round 4. But I don't think they're done at wide receiver. I don't know if that means another move via free agency, and if it's a top of the depth chart guy or if it's a middle guy or bottom guy. I think it would be hard for them to commit significant financial capital to 2 receivers, knowing everything they have to do on the offensive line and defense as a whole. But I do think there will be another move at wide receiver. My money is on the draft right now. Lou says, I feel like we need to prepare ourselves for a boring Thursday as Buffalo trades back to take advantage of the depth of the class and recoup that second plus. I do think that's on the table significantly, whether it's trading back to get a 3rd, like I said, or trading back and trying to get somebody's 2. I do think that 1000% is on the table. Adrian saying we need an edge linebacker or a true nose. I completely agree. Completely agree. Nicholas, what's up? Nicholas says, with the Bills keeping Keon, I also like the Moore acquisition because of how much better I think it'll make Coleman, considering how much more efficient he was at Michigan State with a dynamic receiver in Jaden Reed. Oh, fair comp. Yeah, that's fair. And yeah, like Nate said, I think the acquisition of DJ Moore just bumps everyone down a peg. Now you've got DJ Moore at the top of your wide receiver depth chart. You've got Dalton Kincaid, who I still think is your primary or premier pass catcher, but again, health and all the other stuff that muddies the picture for him is a thing in and of itself. But now it's like Moore, Kincaid, Shakir, and Palmer, and Keon. Like Keon gets bumped down. He can still marinate a little bit more and play more of a specific or niche type of role, which I still think is what he needs to be. It just bumps everybody down a little bit in a good way. And again, depending on what happens at wide receiver in the draft, or maybe again in free agency, we'll see. We'll see. Comment here is, I'd rather pay Mike Evans and a day 2 wide receiver draft pick. I think that's fair. Swin says, could we still sign Mike Evans? I doubt it. I think Mike Evans is going to get like $20 million per year. You could. And that would be interesting because then Evans gives you like, I think Evans is a better separator than he gets credit for, although he's known for like the length and the ball winning, but he's someone who can work downfield. He can work the intermediate, the experience. He'll give you some bad drops from time to time, but I think Evans can still be a low end 1, or at the very least a high end 2. And if you had him and DJ Moore at the top of your depth chart, I think that's a really interesting premise. I just think he's going to be what you're paying DJ Moore to then pay that to Mike Evans, knowing what you need on the defensive line across the board, what you need at linebacker, what you need at offensive line, and what you need at safety. Could it happen? Sure. Will it happen? I just don't think so, because it would really put him in a hole for everything else, but it could happen. Danny says DJ Moore doesn't move the needle and he's overpaid. I'm guessing that's what you think, or are you saying that about someone else? Yeah, I think DJ Moore is a good addition. I don't think I wanted more of a true bucket getter or needle mover at wide receiver. I don't think he's a bucket getter I'm going to talk out of both sides of my mouth, I guess. I don't think he's a bucket getter or a move the needle guy, but I do think he is a useful addition to this wide receiver room that helps open things up. Ooh, Richard saying Caden McDonald would be nice. Yeah. I mean, I was in on Tyreek Williams this year, so it's understandable that last year, so it's understandable that I'd be in on Caden McDonald this year. Appreciate you, Claude. Claude saying, Ant, you said it exactly right. I've also wondered if he's tired or he's hurt or just loafing. Yeah, and I hate having to ask those questions, right? Like, is this dude gassed? Is he banged up? Does he have a pulled hammy or quad or something we don't know about? Or did he roll his ankle, do something? Or, does he just not care? Bills fan saying, I absolutely hate the trade with the Bills having so many different needs, considering we may need to replace 2 offensive linemen. Yeah, I do think, again, I'm fine with him as a player. The contract, I think, is where it gets muddy, right? You knowing what you're committing to DJ Moore from a financial perspective and from a cap hit perspective, that's what gums it up, right? Like, you're paying for that guy And again, that was going to happen if they paid Romeo Dobbs, if they paid Mike Evans, if they paid Alec Pierce. Now you could sit there and say, well, I like all of those players better than DJ Moore, and that's fine. But yeah, they were going to run into this regardless of who they paid at wide receiver, or if they made that kind of splash money somewhere. And I do think that is splash money considering how strapped they are. But also, maybe they don't need to go to the market to replace two offensive linemen. Maybe they're confident and comfortable with Cedric Van Pran Granger rocking at center and Alec Anderson rocking at guard, or Anderson rocking at center and they sign a guard somewhere else, right? Or draft one. So they may think they have the answer in house already and they don't need to spend money on the offensive line. And that's why they made this type of splash. But we'll see. Swin says, what do you think about DeMario Davis or Bobby Wagner? They're old, but still very good. Bobby Wagner, no for me. DeMario Davis, I still like. I just don't think either are a fit right now for the Bills because I think you need more skill set versatility at the linebacker spot. If they didn't have Terrell Bernard, I'd be more open to DeMario Davis, even though he's a hammer coming forward. But I'd like the inside linebacker opposite of Bernard in the odd front looks to be capable of also playing as the end man on the line of scrimmage against the run and as a pass rusher in the odd front 5 down stuff, but also in their 4 down even front sub package stuff. That's why, again, I'm looking at Caden Ellis. I'm looking at Leo Chenal, guys that can play an inside linebacker spot next to Bernard, but could also drop down as the end man on the line of scrimmage, rush the quarterback, or play the run. And I think you need more hybridization in the linebacker spot. And so I'd rather put money into one of those baskets or a player like that. But specifically Caden Ellis or Leo Chenal or somebody with that type of hybridization built into their game at linebacker. Speaking of hybridization, just kidding. The best pizza in Buffalo, New York, One Pie Pizza. I mentioned it in the intro. I mention it now. I don't say that they're the best pizza in Buffalo because they sponsor the show. They sponsor the show because I do sincerely believe they are the best pizza in Buffalo, New York. Sweet sauce pie, cup and char pepperoni, a variety of unique pizzas, including the Cover One Josh Allen Goat, which is absolutely phenomenal. And again, I don't just say that because it's named after the show. And also breakfast pizza. They really do make the best pizza, whether it's your standard pepperoni pie or it's something unique, whatever toppings you want to do, however you want it. They nail everything perfectly. If you get a bunch of veggies, they'll chop them up and sprinkle them evenly across the pie. They have a catering division called Elevated Catering of Buffalo. And I've had them do multiple events for me over the past several years. You can get the pizza or you can rock with like one of their main like chicken and rice dishes or their homemade mac and cheese. They make really good salads. Everything that they make just absolutely hits. The homemade blue cheese is immaculate. Sometimes I don't know if I like the pizza more or the blue cheese more, but their food is absolutely tremendous. And they're really good people on top of it. Everything they do for the city, for the community at large, partnering with Roswell, partnering with the SPCA, the Alzheimer's Foundation, Toys for Tots. They do a lot to try and give back to the community and the city. And I think that's awesome. And they do that on top of bringing your taste buds absolute joy every time you take a bite of their food. So get yourself some One Pie Pizza. If you want to celebrate the DJ Moore move or whatever the Bills are doing, get yourself some One Pie Pizza and celebrate. If you hate the DJ Moore move and you're trying to drown your sorrows in some delicious pizza and blue cheese, get yourself some One Pie Pizza. It works for any occasion. The online menu, again, can be found in the episode show notes, whether here on YouTube or whichever podcasting app or platform you're listening to this show on. Get yourself some One Pie Pizza. Go into the comments. We've got another super chat. Thank you very much, Jason, for the super chat. Jason says, I just think the Moore trade gives us a legit big play down the field receiver. His skill set will unlock a healthy Kincaid or even Shakir. I do think, so again, this is kind of playing both sides, right? I do think his speed gives you legitimate field stretching, vertically and horizontally, right? My only issue is he going to be committed to always do that, especially if he's not going to get the ball? We've had questions on tape, like, is he loafing or is he hurt? Is there something going on? Does he not care? Is he tired? What is it? And then we know in 2024, again, as Nate talked about earlier, he essentially kind of quit on the Bears. So is he going to be down to be like, hey, we want you to run the vertical route on Dagger because we want you to pull coverage so Shakir can come in behind you on the dig or whoever can come in behind you on the dig? Is he down to play that selfless role if he's not going to get the ball, right? If Allen doesn't want to push it downfield to him, cool. Is he fine continuing to pull coverage and create space for Shakir underneath, for Kincaid underneath? I do think he gives you more athleticism to kind of ball win downfield, even though he's not a ball winner, but he's got real juice, real athleticism, real explosion. He can go up, he can get it and make a play on the ball, even though he's a smaller type of receiver. So So I do think he gives you an opportunity to make some plays down the field and or pull coverage and stretch the field for the offense. Good comment. Adrian says, how do I know Moore is not another Josh Palmer? You don't until you see him play. I will say stylistically, they're just two very different players. Josh Palmer is more precision, route running, stem work, deception, separating in the underneath and the intermediate with his stem work, with his route running, body language, precision, all of that. DJ Moore is much faster. DJ Moore can still run by some people. DJ Moore can pull coverage. DJ Moore can run away from guys. He doesn't have the precision that Palmer has, but he's more athletic. He's better with the ball in his hands for yards after catch, and he's got real juice and pop and burst and explosion to his game. So I think he's a different kind of receiver, one. Two, he could be another Josh Palmer in terms of effectiveness. He could get hurt. He could be a letdown. He could be not good enough. He could not care. You really don't know until they put the pads on and strap everything on and get after it. But I think this will help Palmer because it just knocks him down a little bit. My biggest thing with Palmer last year, I still don't have an issue with Palmer, the player. I just think he's more of a wide receiver 3 or a wide receiver 4, maybe a guy who can moonlight as a 2, depending on your offense and how your wide receiver room is built. But the Bills asked a lot of him by essentially making him like wide receiver 1 and having to play where he played and how he played. But we'll see. We'll see. What else? Swin says Moore probably would have caught the ball. Reference to the Brandon Cooks catch. Maybe. Oh, I appreciate you. Comment here from Duda saying a little off subject, but I think Anthony's the missing piece of the rock pile report. The chemistry they have with him is always so fun. Oh, I appreciate you checking me out and the show out when I have those appearances. That's awesome. Thank you. That's cool. I'm going to tell Drew and Chris about this comment. I appreciate you. What else? Oh, comment here saying, I feel like Palmer is going to be very solid this season, assuming he's healthy. Yeah, we will. Hopefully he stays healthy. And comment here from Bills fans saying, I just hate losing the draft picks, losing shots for cost control options. That's fair. But you still don't know what a draft pick's going to be. It's still a crapshoot, right? You can have a top 5 pick and take somebody that you think is going to be a lock and they're not, right? Let alone somebody in the 2nd round, 3rd round, 4th round, so on and so forth. So again, I think if you look at it solely from the perspective of what's going to be better for the Bills this year in 2026, a receiver they could have gotten in the 2nd round or DJ Moore, the answer is DJ Moore. Now, will that still be the case in 2027 and beyond? Sorry, I'm moving too much, but the camera out of focus. Will that still be the conversation in 2027 and beyond? I don't know. And again, it could end up not being true this year. The receiver they could have gotten in the 2nd round could end up being a tremendous rookie and put a performance on that makes everybody go, oh, look at this guy the Bills could have had. They didn't need to trade for DJ Moore. But odds are, you bet on the known quantity, the known commodity of the NFL talent, which is DJ Moore at this point. The draft is still a dart throw or a crapshoot. It's a swing at the plate. And that swing at the plate could be a home run. It could be a single, double, triple. It could be a walk. It could be a strikeout, pop out, ground out, anything and everything in between. But I get where you're coming from. I do understand that notion and that thought process. I'm going to throw up the banner. This is Toodles, folks, because we're going to start to wind down here and say goodbye. If you have not already, please, and thank you, drop a like on this episode. Got some downvotes for it, apparently. I don't know if people are really upset with the DJ Moore trade or whatever have you. But yeah, if you like this episode, if you enjoyed this content, please, and thank you, drop a like on this video here on YouTube, whether you're watching live now or watching post live later. We had a ton of live people joining with us here in this afternoon, which was awesome to see. Please drop a like on this video here on YouTube. Whether it's for me, whether it's for Nate Tice, who is absolutely awesome, whether it's because you like the trade or you like the Bills or the weather's getting nicer, whatever kindness you got, drop a like on this video if you would be so kind. If you're listening on one of the podcasting apps or platforms, that's cool too. Please rate, review, and subscribe to Disguised Coverage on whatever podcasting app or platform you are listening to this show on. If you enjoyed this content, tell your family, friends, loved ones about it. If they're a Bills fan, football fan, whatever have you. If you hated this episode or you hate me or you hate this show, tell your enemies and try and ruin their day by making them watch this show or this episode. Thank you very much to Carl and Jason for all of your super chats. Jason Rock coming in with 3 of them. That was awesome to see. Carl, you too as well with yours early on to kind of kick us off with the super chat right out the gate. Appreciate you for that. And thank you to everyone who tuned in live. I know this was, again, kind of spur of the moment. Appreciate you, RJ, seeing you in the comments there. Yeah, normally we go on Tuesdays. I moved from that to be able to have Nate on this episode. We were going to record offline today. Then the DJ Moore news happened. I figured, hey, let's go live. We'll lead with the DJ Moore stuff. Sorry, I keep moving and putting the camera out of focus. I figured we'd lead with the DJ Moore stuff and go live and see the thoughts, questions, comments, concerns, and go from there. Major shout out again to Nate Tice, host of Football 301, writer for Yahoo, one of the best minds in football when it comes to anything and everything. Dude who played it, who worked in the NFL, who knows what's up. He's got the pedigree for it as well. He's just absolutely phenomenal in every way. Huge thank you to him for taking the time and joining us today. And thank you to everybody who tuned in live for this episode. Thank you to everybody who watched post live, who listened, whatever form or fashion your episode consumption comes in. I am extremely grateful for it and thankful for it as well. If there was anything that we didn't get to in the chat, which I know probably happened because I was trying to make sure I stayed on time for Nate, leave it in the comments on YouTube. I will get at it in the comments on YouTube. Get at me on Twitter at pro__ant. That's pro_ANT. Get at me on Blue Sky at proant. No underscores there. Just PROANT. There we go. Fix the camera. Yeah. So apologies if I didn't get to a comment or a question or thought, concern, whatever you got. Leave it in the comments on YouTube. Get at it on the socials. Put it in the Discord. DM me, whatever form or fashion you want. You got it. Jason says, might be upset that the entire tree is invisible. Yeah, because it's not going to be entirely visible either way. Even if I put it here, it's still going to be capped off a little bit. I'm really happy with how the St. Patrick's Day garland came out. It's really evenly split, I think, on the little tree. Thank you for noticing the tree, Jason. I appreciate you. Enjoy the rest of your day today, folks. Enjoy your weekend. Again, questions, thoughts, comments, concerns, leave them in the comments on YouTube. Get at me on social. I appreciate everybody who tuned in. Drop a like on this video. Rate, review, and subscribe on the audio platforms. I hope you folks enjoy the rest of your day. Enjoy the weekend. Appreciate the shout out for my hat in the chat that came through. Go Sabres. Let's do this thing. Push for the playoffs. No jinx. Fingers crossed. And appreciate more of the kind words coming through. Appreciate you folks. Thank you very much for tuning in. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoy the rest of your day. Enjoy your weekend. That'll do it for us here in this episode of Disguise Coverage. I hope you and your family and friends and loved ones are all doing well and staying safe. Be kind to one another. Take care of one another. I will see you when I see you. Major thank you again to Nate Tice. Godspeed. And as always, go Bills.